Hello and welcome back. It's good to see you again. You're going to hear some noise in the background, and it's because my wife and I are largely at home by ourselves this afternoon. We're enjoying an afternoon while the children are away with some great grandparents. And she is canning peaches today. So I will be the happy recipient of some canned peaches. But you're going to hear her incessant clank in the background. So you'll just have to listen extra careful. What I wanted to do is to share with you another reading from, I read in our last visit, I read a little story from Hillaire Belloc's The Path to Rome, and the conceit is it's this pilgrim and he's conversing with his reader. And at one point he goes off on this tangent and tells this story about the devil and St. Charles, which I read to you last time. However, this time, I'd like to read something a little bit more philosophical, and this happens very often. The pilgrim in this is, again, walking from France to Rome on this pilgrimage. That's the conceit. But he's constantly, because he's in this conversation, it's not just this like journal entries, it's again very much like a dialogue between him and his reader. And he is constantly going off on philosophical or theological, even geological tangents. And several times they're very simple, but also very profound. I found Belloc to be very like G.K. Chesterton in that way. One of the other reasons why this book is very quickly becoming a favorite is, one, I just enjoy the overall narrative. And then two, it's one of those books that it's very easy to pull off the shelf, really at any time, flip to any page, and you'll get something enjoyable or healthful out of. And that is actually one of the things that I did today. I was looking at my bookshelves and actually thinking there are stacks of books just kind of everywhere, and it's because we have the perennial issue of running out of shelf space, which has been a problem all through my marriage, and it's only been exacerbated recently because I got told until we have more space that I can't buy any more bookshelves. So yeah, see, she's smiling at me over there. So we're having to double shelve, and everything's kind of a mess. And I was thinking I'm going to have to jump back in and probably pull stuff off and reorganize so it looks a little bit nicer, and then also give away or get rid of some books that I just haven't touched and I don't necessarily need in my cultivated library anymore. That in itself is a tangent, but getting back to Belloc, I wanted to read to you, this is one of the more simple points that he makes, but I think one of the more profound. And it's on this occasion where the pilgrim attends a morning mass. So one of his disciplines that the pilgrim has instituted, or he's promised for this pilgrimage, is every morning he'll begin the day with mass, going to church. And he constantly fails at this. But on this one occasion that he succeeds, he attends this morning mass, and he is, among other things, he's wrapped up in this sense of satisfaction he gets from this. And so he goes on to outline, okay, why do I have such a sense of satisfaction about not, just a humdrum, but just a regular old morning mass? What about the experience is so satisfying? And so I'll read some of his reasons, and I think you might get something out of this too. So he says here, of course there is a grace and influence belonging to such a custom, to the Mass, but it is not of that I am speaking, but of the pleasing sensation of order and accomplishment, which attaches to a day one has opened by Mass. A purely temporal, and for all I know, what the monks back at the ironworks would have called a carnal feeling, but a source of continual comfort to me. Let them go their way, and let me go mine. Then he goes on. This comfort I ascribe to 4 causes, and these causes are, the first, that for half an hour just at the open of the day you are silent and recollected, and have to put off cares, interests, and passions in the repetition of a familiar action. This must certainly be a great benefit to the body and give it tone. So my notes on this are just, I can't remember who said this, but some philosopher said all of man's ailments and unhappiness could be summed up in the fact that he cannot sit for an hour alone in a dark room. That's a very rough paraphrase, but that's what he's getting at. His second reason, that the Mass is a careful and rapid ritual. Now, it is the function of all ritual, as we see in games, social arrangements, and so forth, to relieve the mind by so much of responsibility and initiative, and to catch you up, as it were, into itself, leading your life for you during the time it lasts. In this way, you experience a singular repose, after which fallowness, I am sure one is fitter for action and judgment. So he's then talking about this psychological state where, like in sleep, you kind of give up the pursuit of, responsibilities, fulfilling duties, being productive, those things that require our attention and are good to fulfill. But then it's also good to rest. And I'm certain that there are a litany of philosophers who would ascribe to that a lot of our unhappiness is due to just the frenetic nature of most of our lives. We just fill out our schedules with all sorts of little trinkets of activity, and it's good to just not. It's good to just do something. And in this, he's saying this familiar ritual, which requires not a great deal of you to produce anything or to think any great thought, but just to be there and, like C.S. Lewis's Contemplation in the Shed, to enjoy the ritual. 3, that the surroundings incline you to good and reasonable thoughts, and for the moment deaden the rasp and jar of that busy wickedness, which both working in oneself and received from others is the true source of all human miseries. Thus the time spent at Mass is like a short repose in a deep and well-built library, into which no sounds come and where you feel yourself secure against the outer world. I think that speaks for itself. And 4, and the most important cause of this feeling of satisfaction is that you are doing what the human race has done for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years. This is a matter of such moment that I am astonished people hear of it so little. Whatever is buried right into our blood from immemorial habit that we must be certain to do if we are to be fairly happy. And what is more important, decent and secure of our souls. Thus, one should from time to time hunt animals, or at the very least shoot at a mark. One should always drink some kind of fermented liquor with one's food, and especially deeply upon great feast days. One should go on the water from time to time, and one should dance on occasions, and one should sing in chorus, for all these things man has done since God put him into a garden, and his eyes first became burdened with a soul. Similarly, some teacher or ranter or other, whose name I forget, said lately one very wise thing at least, which was that every man should do a little work with his hands. As an accountant, I very much understand that, and I have always found a great deal of enjoyment in doing like yard work. That's what I usually do Fridays and or Saturdays, and I find a great deal of satisfaction. It requires very little of me just mentally, but it's very satisfying just doing something with your hands that after the activity, you can visibly see what you've done. So he goes on a little bit on this point, but I think this last paragraph was, again, very simple, but very profound. It's very easy to fall into, like, how can I be more productive? And that's a good thing because we do waste time. But a better question is, how can I just be more human? Why don't I just be good at being like a human first? And we constantly do anti-human activities like sitting and watching television or scrolling on our phone or, what else? Listening to music in earbuds. Just for ourselves like that, like listening to music in that way is not a human activity. Music is a communal thing. It's not a individual. It shouldn't be an individual experience. And until the invention of the earbud, the Walkman probably, it was never enjoyed. Really rarely that way. Perhaps with the invention of the radio, someone could sit alone in a room and listen to a recording. But again, music is for celebrations, and it's a way in which communities bind themselves together. We're constantly doing these inhuman things, and so a good reminder is to just do human things. And what are those human things? Those things that humans have done for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years. He later makes the point that, even the religious aspect just of the ritual in worship and in prayer is something that humans have done for thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years. So I thought that was very, very simple, but very salubrious at the same time. So again, I cannot recommend this book enough. I read several excerpts from this in our last wine and book club meeting that I attended a couple weeks ago. And since then, actually, one of the other gentlemen in our club has since purchased a nice copy of this book and is looking forward to reading it himself. So I encourage you to get it. You certainly also don't have to be Catholic to enjoy it. Of course, the whole premise is a very Catholic one. And Belloc, because he's a little curmudgeonly, he does go on a couple anti-Protestant or anti-secularist rabbit trails, but it's more funny than insulting. So, and I think that's part of the point. He's saying these things that perhaps he really thinks, but it's all very, very humorous too. So it was good to see you again. I do have to say that I have pulled the curtain back a little bit on our conceit here, but we recently hit 2,000 subscribers, and it kind of happened without me even seeing it. I think over the course of probably a week, we just kind of whizzed right past it, and I missed it. So what I'd like to do is when we hit 2,500, 2,500, it would be fun to do another Q&A. If I had the ability and to kind of practice a live stream or something like that, I think that might be interesting. But I think at least another Q&A that was of interest to people. And also, I've been thinking about this, but very early on, I had invited people to reach out if they wanted to do chess by mail. What? I'm fine? Okay. If someone would engage me in a game of chess by mail, and it was a great deal of fun. I didn't finish the game with the individual. I stopped. Well, we had a baby, and so I didn't answer. I didn't respond in a move for probably a month, and then by the time I did, it's very possible that person lost interest, and I haven't heard from them. But if anyone is interested in that, why don't you reach out to me? I think you can find my email address. But I think that would be fun. I'll probably do another book giveaway, something from my library, so you have something that I've read and really enjoyed, and we'll do something like that. I'll give you some more details as we get closer. But all the same, it's been a pleasure to have you once again, and I'll see you next time. Bye.